What's up, Rent to Retirement community? Zachary Master here. I am super excited to showcase our new wealth tracker calculator tool. Now, this is something that we've been working on over the past year or so. We spent tens of thousands of dollars with software engineers to actually build this thing out. It's in its first beta version of release, but we'd like to go ahead and get it out to you as quickly as possible. That way you can start becoming familiar with it and actually using it. It is functional right now, although please bear with us. I'm sure there's some things that need to be fixed in the future. So if you do use this and come across an issue or a suggestion, please send that email to admin@rentretirement.com and reference the wealth tracker calculator. And we'd be happy to continue to improve this tool for you, which is absolutely free to use for the rent to retirement community. This tutorial video is going to go through like exactly what this calculator is and how to appropriately use it. There are a ton of different pro forma calculators and different calculators, investment calculators to use online. But in all of my searching, I have not found a good calculator that is able to both analyze a property like today, but also project future performance. I think most of us, when we're interested in investing in rental real estate, really want to know like, okay, yes, what does this investment look like today? But also, am I making a smart choice investing right now? And what is my future cash flow and net worth and equity position look like? Investing in rental real estate over time is really essential to understand and conceptualize the numbers of like, I am making a smart financial decision now based on future anticipated projections. And of course, there's some speculation in this, but some not, like just calculating a loan amortization over time and then combining that with an anticipated future appreciation and potential rental increases, potential future expense increases. And all these things to really get a good grasp of like, okay, what does my net worth, equity position, and cash flow look like at future years? Because certainly it's not going to always perform like it is at day one, buying it in year one. Usually when you're looking at a pro forma analysis tool, that is a projection for year one. So when you look at things like cash flow and cash on cash ROI and all these things that you're looking at, that is a projection of performance over 1 year. We all know that every single year you own rental real estate, the loan is being paid down by the tenant. The property is appreciating over time, regardless of short-term fluctuations. So that's growing your equity. Plus, the rents should increase on this property over time, as well as some expenses too, right? Like over time, things like maintenance and CapEx, you need to also increase those over time. But certainly rents are increasing as well. So really the purpose of this calculator is to look back and say, all right, if I held, these 3 properties over the course of 7 or 8 years, this is what I would project my net worth and my equity to be at and my cash flow in year 7 or 8 or whatever the case is. So we're super excited to release this tool for you. The whole purpose of this is going beyond just year one analysis in the pro forma and actually look into the future to say, what does my future financial position look like? And maybe to reverse engineer that to say, okay, if my financial goal and retirement date is to have $10,000 of passive income in 8 years, you can reverse engineer that and say, okay, I need to buy this many properties that perform to X amount of dollars each year to accomplish my financial goal. So I'm super excited about this. Honestly, we built this out just because we personally needed something to project into the future because we simply haven't found a good analysis tool. So this is great. You can log in to this tool. It's absolutely free. You can log in and create a profile on the website and it will save all of your data. If you currently have rental properties, you can add those rental properties to this tool and you can look at past performance as well as project future performance. You just have to manually enter all that information. And then of course, properties that you're evaluating. You can also plug in numbers there and look at a analysis based on an individual property, but also look at a whole portfolio analysis to see how your portfolio is performing. And as you continue to grow your portfolio, you can continue to add those properties to your wealth tracker and save your profile. So without further ado, let's dive into it. I'm super excited to present the Rent to Retirement Wealth Tracker available to our wonderful community of investors. All right, guys, here is the wealth calculator tool. The link is available in the show notes to this calculator as well as available on our website. And all of our team has access to this as well. So yeah, if you can't find the link to set up a profile and use this tool, go ahead and reach out and we'd be happy to share it with you. The first thing you need to do is actually register. So when you visit the website, you'll need to go up here and click register and you just put in whatever Gmail that you want to, or you don't have to use an actual email here. And I think the password needs to be 6 characters. Then you will be entering the wealth tracker. You can see that it saves your profile up here. So once you create a login, you'll have access to this forever, and it will save your data. Before you get started, if you want to play around with the calculator, you can load samples. We have samples already built in here for you just to show you an example, or you can start from scratch and add your own property. So I'm going to go to add property, but again, if you want to load samples, you can go in and delete those later. I guess maybe we'll start there. This is 5 properties. These are actual deals that we've done in the past. These are just on here to give you an example of what this would look like. This is your home screen, okay? And this is your portfolio view. And so you can see that there are 5 different properties in this example portfolio that already has data pre-entered into them. And if you didn't want to add this again at the beginning, you could go back and just add new property and it would not have any of these. However, you can easily delete these if you want as well. This shows right here, you can see that you have 5 properties in your portfolio. Right here, the default is 10 years that you've held them for. But certainly you can scroll this and really show, look at over what period of time that you'd like to see. So we know that pro forma is our evaluation of the first year, but we can obviously stretch this out to be future years if we'd like to see what a future projection looks like. So we'll go ahead and look at 10 years. And then this is cumulative equity. And this is cumulative cash flow over a 10-year period across these 5 properties. Now, if you wanted to look at year cash flow, annual cash flow to say, all right, well, how much am I actually bringing in year 10 annually? That would be down in this graph right here. And that's an important distinction to note, that this cash flow is cumulative across the portfolio for 10 years. And then this is what I'm receiving per year at year number 10. Okay. And you can actually go through and look at each one of these. So year 9 would be 26,000 and year 8 would be 23,000. But year 10 on this portfolio, you'd have 28,485 expected cash flow. So this is a really cool tool where you can actually save your portfolio and say, okay, not only individually, but across a portfolio of houses, what does my retirement picture look like? What does my passive income portfolio project at? So let's go in and add a new property. Let's say we just bought one. We'll go through and walk through this, and then we'll also show you how to edit it. So we'll do 123 Main Street. We'll call this one a property in Lehigh Acres, Florida. Purchase it today. We'll say the purchase price is $325,000. And I'm not saying these are exact numbers. I'm just using these for example purposes. Lehigh happens to be just top of mind because this is a recent deal that we evaluated. We know that we have a little bit of equity upon purchase, which is sometimes the case with new construction, at least right now. Monthly rent that we're seeing is $2,650. Annual taxes is $1,600. Insurance, we know that the quote just came in at $935. So obviously these are all input data, right? That you're obtaining from either the pro forma analysis that you're looking at from our website, from a seller, or information that you've gathered. And obviously, as you've sharpened the pencil on these through due diligence, you can go back and add these. Typical loan term, 30-year. The default right now is 6% interest rate, which, depending on when you are watching this, could be whatever, right? So you really need to, put in the appropriate numbers. We know that right now we actually got quoted at 6.25. Closing costs, I think this is automatically defaults to 1.5%. You can put in whatever you want. In Florida, we know we have transfer taxes. So actually closing costs was $6,200 on this property, and 20% down because it's a single family residence. Please note on closing costs, as we've always mentioned, this does not include prepaid taxes and insurance. This is only the closing costs to buy the property. Tax and insurances are calculated in a pro forma in a different section. So don't just look at the HUD and say, okay, well, I had a total out of pocket of my 20% down plus $8,000. A lot of that is prepaid, which is not true closing costs. You'd actually be accounting for it twice in here, which is inappropriate. So this is just loan costs, your title cost, your loan costs, not prepaid tax or insurance, as well as your appraisal and things like that. So we'll go ahead and create this, and this will give us an analysis. So we can see, based on this recent property that we just evaluated, this has an analysis that will walk through individually each year. And this will show you each year the performance of this property based on some assumptions, which we'll walk through shortly. And that's important to kind of look at. So we have our address, property. If you wanted to add a photo to this, you can add a photo to it as well. And we'll show you how to do that after the fact if you don't add one initially. Purchase cost $325. Here's our purchase date. Purchase costs here. This is anything beyond closing costs, right? So this would be if you have inspections, more applicable on commercial if you have things like surveys and additional due diligence items that you need if you're running cost segregation studies for accelerated depreciation. Things like that beyond your typical closing costs you can put in here. For most properties, it'll be zero or very minimal. Here's your loan terms, which you can change over time. And then here is your pro forma analysis. And again, this is typically year one. In fact, it should match up perfectly with year one performance because it kind of gives you a snapshot analysis. And here's you can see cash flow at the end of year one. It would be about 5,800 or 5,700, which would be about an 8% cash on cash ROI. The percentage is here is the ROI after the exact detail. Appreciation, I believe we're doing an assumption of 4%. And again, I will show you how to change that. And then you have your loan pay down, which is not speculative. This is actually calculated by an amortization scale, which you'll see. And then it combines the ROI, which people are always wondering, like most people are just focused on when they're looking at a property analysis, the newer investors are typically only looking at a cash flow number and a cash on cash ROI based on, the cash flow year one. But it is important, and really where you grow your net worth long-term in rental real estate is all the other things that you grow, right? Like cash flow actually surprisingly becomes the least important thing over time. You want to make sure that your properties are positive cash flow, obviously. Rents grow over time to increase cash flow, but really where people grow their net worth and become wealthy long-term in rental real estate is through all the other things, the appreciation, the loan pay down, using leverage appropriately, the depreciation and tax benefits. That's absolutely huge. So when we look down at passive and active depreciation, this is going to cause a lot of confusion for people. And so what I would encourage you to just don't get too carried away with this or worry about this too much. Passive depreciation is something everyone takes advantage of. This is something where if you're not a real estate professional and you are just owning this rental property where you had this amount of cash flow, $5,700, your passive depreciation, which is basically the home value divided by 27 and a half years, you're going to have, roughly, so on this, it's just over, maybe call it like $4,000 or whatever, or just under $4,000 if you take 325 divided by 27 and a half years. Then you can reduce that amount from your cash flow, which is passive income on this property. And then your $4,000 or whatever would be reducing the amount of taxes you have to pay on this $5,700. So that's where this number comes up. Everyone gets this, right? Like you're required by the IRS code to actually file depreciation on your rental properties. Active depreciation is in addition to this, if you're taking the additional depreciation you have. And this is not accelerated depreciation. Let me clarify that. This is taking additional depreciation on this off of your active income. So if you have additional depreciation to use against other income sources, this is really going to confuse people. So I almost say ignore active depreciation, only worry about passive depreciation. If you're a real estate professional or active investor, you'll understand this a bit more. And this is something to think about over time. But for all intents and purposes, just forget active right now. And then this would be if you combine active and passive depreciation. But my point is hopefully clear. So we look at over here, year one, end of year, and this would be the case for each year that you own this property. End of year shows you what your total cash flow was, total appreciation based on our assumptions, the loan pay down based on the amortization scale. And here is your total equity. If you look at here on the equity graph, that's where you're combining your down payment. The $81,000 here is your down payment initially, plus this $16,000. That's appreciation and debt pay down after 1 year. And of course, we just talked about the depreciation, right? So I would focus on passive depreciation here. And then cumulative is from time of purchase. And for year one, it will be the exact same, right? Because we've only owned it for 1 year. And then return over here will show the overall return individually and then cumulatively. And so if you have your cash flow, cash on cash ROI, you have your appreciation, you have your loan pay down, giving your total return on based on the equity growth, return on investment, and then your passive depreciation here for your total return on investment. Now, if you go down to year 2, you can see now this is cumulative. This section here is actually taking into account years 1 and 2 combined, right? So here's your total cash flow combined for those 2 years. We would expect some rental growth after 1 year, especially in a Southwest Florida market where you do see strong rental growth there. We have cumulative appreciation, and here's your appreciation year 2. And it's just important to notice the cumulative appreciation. So you can go down to year 10 on this property, and an annual cash flow in year 10 would be, 13,580 based on our assumptions. And that's quite a large improvement from where we started out at 5,700. And then you can show that your cash flow that you've received the entire time, close to 100K, appreciation, 156, loan pay down, 40, almost 41,000. Again, that's not speculative. That's based on actual amortization scale on your fixed principal reduction payments. And here's your total equity just from appreciation and debt pay down. In addition, then, you add into your overall down payment as well. Let's look at assumptions. So, and that's what these graphs show here. If you just wanted a quick reference point to say, all right, well, let's say in 5 years where I'm going to be, you can look at your total cash flow annually at that point in time. Again, this is not showing cumulative. This is showing that year with that property or cash flow. And then your equity is cumulative because it grows based on the appreciation and the debt reduction. So what you want to do if you want to play around with some of these assumptions is to actually go in and edit this. Just real quick, let's say sometimes when people are buying properties, this would be more relevant in new construction. If you're buying kind of a similar property and you're looking at like 2 or 3 of the same model, you can easily just easily copy this, and it will add this same property to your overall portfolio. Here's a just quick disclaimer and about the calculator. And here you can delete this, and it's going to ask you if you're sure, so you don't accidentally delete that. But this is the important one, is where we can edit this. And this is where you can really refine your assumptions here. And this is really important. This is what I'm most excited about here, is that you can add additional photos here, or just an external photo if you'd like. General gives the information that we added in the beginning. So this should automatically be filled out. Your pro forma is also information we filled out in the beginning. This is where if you have additional expenses, this is where you would add this, right? So if you have an HOA on this, if you had utilities, if this was a multifamily property and you had some additional expenses, this is where you would add things like that. Your loan is where you have your interest rate, your amortization. So in most cases, this is going to be a 30-year fixed loan. You have your closing costs, again, not prepaid tax or insurance, just true loan and title costs for closing, and your percent down. And then your variables. These are the assumptions, okay? And these are the important ones to look at to say, if you wanted to change what your anticipated appreciation, what your expense increase is going to be. If this is a commercial property that's depreciated over 39 years, then you can add that based on your specific tax bracket. This will affect a depreciation. You can change your property management rate here. It automatically defaults. These are defaults, what you're looking at right now. But surely this is something you want to probably adjust. And so, property appreciation, 4%, that's pretty conservative. We know that in Southwest Florida, and everyone wants to be conservative when you run your own numbers. So that's why we're providing you with this calculator where you can actually go through and change the assumptions that you would like to see. In Southwest Florida, I mean, even double this would be conservative. I'm going to put it at 8% rent appreciation. We can actually look back at historicals, and over the past few years, we've had double-digit rent appreciation. Rent appreciation, you can leave it at whatever you want to. I'd say for the Midwest, Ohio, Missouri, Indiana, and some other market, 2.5% to 4% or 5% for rent appreciation is pretty standard. That's why we have at 3%. Property appreciation, certainly Midwest, 4 to 5%, easy conservative number to put in. But these are things you need to start thinking about. That will also determine which locations should you invest in. I mean, the really good use of this tool is to do a side-by-side comparison of a house that is in a growth market like Southwest Florida, or some of the Alabamas or the Sun Belt areas, Texas, and compare that to some of the Midwestern markets. So the Midwestern markets may be a lower purchase price and make cash flow better day one coming out of the gates. But then after year 10, you can look and see, okay, maybe this growth market that has stronger appreciation and rental increases, even though it was more expensive to start with and it had a lower ROI to begin with, maybe this is a better investment long-term to actually come out ahead. All important things to put in here. Rent appreciation, we'll put 5% for Southwest Florida, even though that's still conservative. Management, we're actually at 7% on these specific properties. Maintenance, you can put in whatever you want here. This is brand new construction property. So honestly, well, year one, we should have actually 0 because there is no maintenance, but then we'll have, and being new construction, we'll probably have low maintenance here, but everyone wants to be conservative. We'll put 5%. That would probably be relevant for like a Midwestern property. Vacancy, completely up to you what you want to put in. Average vacancy in this area is actually below 3%. It's like 2.8 based over the past 5 years of data that we've collected. But you can put whatever you want for vacancy. Tax bracket, we'll put it somewhat realistic. This is federal. If you wanted to add in, I would say too, if you have state income tax, so you can also add that in here. So there's a lot of states out there that's creeping up in state income tax. So we'll use a realistic example for where we're at. Expense inflation, again, for this property, new construction, we expect first 10 years very minimal maintenance, but we'll just put 2 or 3%, I think is fine there, and single family depreciation. So this is really important, this variable page. Make sure you save before you exit this. That way it actually adjusts the numbers, right? And then here you go. This is your new assumptions, and you can kind of see how this property is performing. And then if you want to go back in and change some of these variables, please note that you have to change the variables per property. You can't change it for your portfolio as a whole. And we did that intentionally because each property, especially if you're diversifying across multiple markets, likely has different input data. It would be, I think, just a not real astute thing to do to go in and just make ballpark assumptions for everything. Like actually think about the information that you're putting in here. Try to pull some data. If you can't get data, ask our team. We can assist you with this. This is going to be a lot of this is going to be geographically dependent and driven. So that's why it's important to go into each property and change these variables. Or if you just want to use the assumptions we have in there as a baseline, I think we use some pretty conservative assumptions for you to be fairly safe. Completely up to you. Then we can go back. When you go back to your portfolio and you can see here's our new property added into the additional ones here. So we can see, with this new added property, what our annual cash flow is going to be based on the year that we're evaluating. So again, we're year 10 here. Let's say we go to year 15. We can see that our annual cash flow, if we just didn't buy a single other property and held these 6 properties here for 15 years, we would have an annual projected cash flow of $72,000, and we would have an equity position of almost $2 million. You can see that the equity growth over time is much more attractive. You build net worth through equity over time. The cash flow is great to live off of or reinvest if you're an astute investor, but really the tax deductions and the equity growth through appreciation and debt reduction is really what allows you to get ahead. Probably we could look at things like doing a 1031 exchange on this property, on some of these, and selling them. And, that all comes into play. And that's where our team, as your advisor and your guide, is really going to be crucial. And it would help us immensely if you have this calculator prepared. That way we can jump in and show you some theoretical options and look at this with you. So just some things to look at. A couple other things, usability things here. So this is your portfolio view. Remember, you can go on and look at any one of these properties if you want to pull one up, and then you can just tweak some of the numbers here and add some photos. If you wanted to copy this, you can do that here. You can go back. Let's say you're running some future theoretical. Let's say this is your portfolio right now, and you're just inputting 2 or 3 properties that you're looking at just as you're prospecting or analyzing some future potential deals that you want to add to your portfolio, but you haven't bought them yet. You can easily turn these off and exclude them. And then that's going to adjust your numbers as if you did not own that property. And then you can, of course, turn it back on. That way, if you have 2 or 3 potential deals that you want to add into your portfolio, certainly you can do that. And then, of course, you can change the numbers and delete these if you want. So, guys, that's really about it for now. Hopefully, this was a beneficial video. We'll try to do a more consolidated version, but I really am super excited about this because, again, we've been searching for a tool just to help people conceptualize and visualize what a portfolio looks like long term, just to give you a better idea of how real estate works. Time is on your side the longer you own rental real estate. And looking back over the past close to 15 years of investing professionally with our own portfolio, it's astonishing to see just like what time does and how rental increases year after year, and reducing the loan balance through the tenant paying the loan down and appreciation, as well as all these things, the tax benefits and depreciation, all these things combined over time to create a strong financial position for you. And every year that you own a property and every additional property that you add to your portfolio has a dramatic impact long term, but it is hard to conceptualize that sometimes. And so that is why we put together this calculator. So not only can you look at an analysis year one and run a pro forma, you can save this. You can have a place to come back to reference it. You don't have to jump onto these calculators where you don't have a saved profile and add in the information every single time you want to evaluate it. You can save it here. And furthermore, this gives you the ability to project in the future based on whatever variables and assumptions you want to make, just to give you an idea that, hey, this is how real estate performs over time. This is what your net worth, your equity, and your cash flow position will likely be at some point in the future. So hopefully this has been exciting for you guys. I hope you can see that I'm very stoked about it. This has been a very cool tool for us. If you have input questions, if you have things that you want to see on this as we improve this tool over time, email those to admin@renttoretirement.com. Other than that, guys, get on here, play around with this tool. I would say the last thing is we don't have a print. Okay, we don't have an ability to print this off. But if you just use your print tool right here, it will print a pretty reasonable assumption. If you want to go and show your spouse and sit down and look at this with your spouse, if you want to show a banker or a potential deal partner your projections on this, or private money lender, whatever the case is, you can show them this and walk them through this live. You can send them a link and tell them to log in, right? Because you can put in whatever login information. It can even be an alias or fake email, that doesn't matter. And you can have them log into this, or you can go ahead and just do a print screen here. And it actually turns out to be, a decent analysis where it's got some page breaks in here, but they can at least point out the key data points. So we don't have a nice printed report that's probably version 2.0, but still the information is there to utilize. So get on here, play around with this, you guys. And certainly as you grow your portfolio, please continue to add these to this wealth tracker. We put a lot of work into this, and this is going to help the Rent to Retirement team immensely to help you prepare and plan for your financial future. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for watching the Rent to Retirement YouTube channel. Check out some of our other videos, like this one, or this one here.